So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I first read this, let's say 10 years ago now, something like that, I hated it. I could not get into it. I didn't have fun with it, and I sold my original copy. And yeah, I had buyer's remorse. That's why I tell everyone when I'm chatting with them and I talk about selling stuff, make sure it's something you really don't want because buyer remorse is a bitch. And yeah, I had to get it back in my collection because hindsight is 2020. This is Battle of the Planets Witchblade #1 from Top Cow and Image, and I believe this was 2003 is when this book came out. And it's interesting. The one thing I think that there's two things, and we'll get into it, but the main thing that I think really throws me off is how the story happens. I'm not 100% sure. Like, I'm not an aficionado of G-Force Battle of the Planets, nor am I a huge aficionado of Witchblade. I read a lot of the early Sarah, I can never pronounce her name. So we'll just call her Sarah P because her last name always eludes me and I always butcher it. But anyway, let's talk about who made this book and then I'll elaborate on what I'm kind of bumbling about here. Art director is Alex Ross. Writer is Munier Sharrieff. Script translation is Michelle Lee. Pencils, Christina Chin with Joe Chin. Inks, Alan Dragon Tam. Colors, Shane Law of Udon Studios. Arnold Tsang, Andrew Hou, Omar Dogan with Siu-Chong. Calvin Lowe, and Erik Ko. And then there's everyone that's doing the letters because that's a lot of names. There's a lot of people working on this book. I do enjoy that the way this is put together. So obviously Alex Ross is the cover artist. I would have preferred the whole book to be done by Alex Ross, but that's just me. But when you're reading this, even though you're reading it as a regular book, it feels like sort of like a colored manga. It says the East Central European country of Belarus. But Nana, the sun is still out. Must I come in now? The wolves are restless this season, little one. You'd get gobbled up, and Nana would cry and cry. And another thing that I will say that I'm starting to notice more, but back in the day, it wasn't as prominent as it is now. But the way that the paneling feels is it feels sort of like a TV show. We get wide shot, medium shot, close up. And pay attention to this right here. And so she essentially tells the little boy while he eats his dinner, she'll tell him the story. And she's like, shall it be the decoys of doom, curse of the cuttlefish, race against disaster, or perhaps the fierce flowers? I want to hear my favorite, the one about the princess. I've told you that one at least 100 times. Then let's make it 101. Very well, you little rascal. Close your eyes and see this land we live in. This forest, the rolling meadows. Now imagine it wounded, violated by cruel off-world invaders. They came and stripped the land of a rich biological resource known as peat, a simple fertilizer to us. But to them it was the priceless source material for their powerful terraforming engines. The invaders enslaved the people of this land in order to mine the very fuel required to build the worlds crushed by their vicious empire. This life as I knew it, as a girl just your age. But one day, many, many years ago, hope would shine upon us. And so they're saying that beneath they found this temple. Hope was a much needed commodity, for the invaders had unearthed something far more deadly than their own evil intentions. They discovered an ancient citadel that at its dark heart housed an unholy artifact believed to be born of pure evil that fed on the living. The stranger, who I believe held the key to our salvation, could have made a more timely arrival. Of this I was certain, even if she wasn't. And so we see then, as this, we don't get the full view of who this character is, but the pants are a dead giveaway. But we see that it's Spectra, of course, Zoltar. And we come to find out that the girl is This is Princess. The invaders cared nothing for their captives. My own mother, your great-grandmother died by their hands, death by malnutrition and lack of even the most basic medical care. I was too young at the time to save her, but I swore then at my age I would never stand by and watch the needless death of human life. They are much more compelled to investigate her person than I. she moved, she did so with great power, balance, and grace normal humans weren't supposed to possess. And now she comes to realize that her bracelet's missing, and we see that she's different. The way she's essentially come prepared. She goes, "Don't worry. As soon as I contact my friends, we're shutting this place down and getting you all to safety." This is where she realizes that I don't remember what the G-Force bracelets are called, but it's missing. So she's kind of like, "Oh boy." Now Spectra wants to get rid of her because, from what we read, she essentially took down a whole squad before they were finally able to tranquilize her. Now there's a quiet moment, and then we see. I love the use of the text bubbles for this otherworldly entity. How long will you drown yourself in self-pity? Who are you? I am the means of your revenge. I am your weapon of choice. You're thinking, well, what the hell is that? And she thinks she's going mad. She's like, get out of my head. And then we find this doctor who's essentially turned on the human race to help Zoltar, but you find out that his real machinations is he has an obsession with the Witchblade. And he's trying to explain to Zoltar what has been found. He goes, when can I use the weapon effectively against your kind? That is all I want to know. Give me this answer quickly, or I will lose my patience. Think of them as both incentive and reminder, Reinhardt. Incentive to make haste, and a reminder that you are never far from the pain. Am I losing my mind? No, you're not. You are strong. That's why I've chosen you. You are part of an elite team of warriors. Many would say you're its anchor. And so we're I know Mark, Jason, Teeny, or Tiny. I can never remember the kid's name. Is it Pip? Pipsqueak? I can never remember his name. And then, of course, Pren. You came here as a scout to review this target so that your team could strike with the utmost efficiency. This is when I first felt your presence. That is also when I made my presence felt. Because Reinhardt's saying how the weapon, quote unquote, has not done anything up until this point when Pren arrived. Since I have entered your mind and read your soul, I will return the favor by allowing you to witness my birth and to look upon those who have come before you. And so we see all the generations of the Witchblade. I'm assuming this is supposed to be Sarah. I'm not 100% sure. I probably read it when I went through the Witchblade originally, but it's been so long since I read it. But this is obviously who it's supposed to be. So with that said, help me out, everyone. G-Force, the original Battle of the Planets, which was called Battle of the Planets, not G-Force. I can't remember. Does it supposed to take place on Earth and they are the protectors against Zoltar, or is it space somewhere? Because we know Zoltar's an alien. I can't remember that part. Now, with that said, up until this point, I don't think, because it was probably like, what, 2018, 2017, when Top Cow decided to reboot Witchblade, which very lame sauce in my opinion. It got really boring with her being separated in San Francisco from the darkness, etc., so forth. Anyway, so is this supposed to be like way in the future then, since it's showing Sarah here? I'm not sure where we are on the continuity line. And I know this is supposed to be like an Elseworld, but you can't help after you've read certain characters and watched certain shows for so long that you're trying to piece how it would work together. It's beautiful page, though, don't get me wrong. Not Witchblade level, but still relatively entertaining. Now, eventually, Spectra comes to get Pren, and they're going to feed her to the Witchblade. Look at you, the perfect balance of beauty, intelligence, and strength. The old girl has excellent taste. Don't worry about the stench. Trust me, you'll get used to it, especially after you get acquainted with your new best friend. These poor bastards were exposed to horrors no man was ever designed to witness. I'm sad to say this is what happens when you don't make the cut. But you, my dear, don't have to worry about that. Consider yourself a first round pick. So she puts it on. It appears that you already possess a talisman of your own, one buried deep within you. One power. This is wrong. Please stop. And needless to say, of course, Spectra and Reinhardt bit off more. Shoot. Now, from those of you that aren't well versed in G-Force, and I had to kind of look this up, but each one has like this chip implanted in the back of their mind when they first were joined when they were kids. The Witchblade affects that. How does it feel having the means of destroying your most hated enemy right in the palm of your hand? And I just kind of like this Bill Sienkiewicz style artwork here. She goes, liberating. Now, as we get to the end, G-Force finally arrives. The Witchblade had gorged itself on both the stranger's hate and the internal power source that produced her amazing abilities. It was the first time that the ancient weapon allowed itself to be intoxicated by its host. Mark's like, my God, Prin, what have they done to you? Though momentarily stunned by what they had witnessed, the stranger's friends were undaunted in their efforts to save her. Princess, please, I know you're in there. Please. I have ceased having an identity the minute I was recruited into the program. Oh, I guess you can't really recruit a child, can you? It was more like forced. Forced? Yes, forced to suppress the grief of losing my mother, forced to abandon my childhood, forced to be made into an assassin, forced to hide my feelings for someone I love more than myself. And all for what? Honor? Duty? If not for Spectra, we'd all have a real life, Mark. Ever think it wasn't for Spectra, you and I never would have met? The five of us would never have been raised together? Every dark cloud has its silver lining. Enough! You've lost your focus. Your drive is diminished. I thought you were the one. Now, of course, Prin is saved. And I love that when she makes her appearance. This time, thanks to the mysterious powers of the magic bracelet, the stranger transformed one last time into a beautiful swan. And I like how Prin has this really beautiful moment with the girl, where she said, I knew you'd save us. I couldn't have done it without you, kiddo. You're without a doubt the bravest little girl I've ever known. I want to be just like you when I grow up, a hero. You'll have me beat by the time you're my age. Because guess what? You already won. And now Prin's trying to apologize to Mark. You with your bright sides and silver linings, what would I do without you? I'll tell you what. It'll take a lot more than you changing into a monster and nearly killing me for you to find out. But those things I said, Prin, hush. I just love that. We kind of finally get to see the sort of will they, won't they that's kind of developed through. It was really nice. I don't want to give away the ending because there's a really kind of funny moment with the Witchblade and the old lady. But overall, that is the plot. I think the things that kind of irk my Girk is having read Witchblade and grew up watching Battle of the Planets, trying to figure out how this lines up sort of irks my Girk. It would have been cool to see Sarah make an appearance. Kind of like how when I can't remember the other girl's name, the blonde-headed girl, where Sarah gave up the Witchblade for a while, and then they split the powers, and the part that Sarah had, she went like batshit evil, and the blue one that the blonde-headed girl took, she had to save Sarah from herself, essentially. It just would have been an interesting dynamic if they would have went that route. But for what it is, I kind of wish they would have gotten out of the caves, because a lot of those pages, as you saw, is Prin kind of moping in that cave talking to the Witchblade. That could have definitely been short. But overall, to see two really kick-ass IPs coming together like this, and the creators showing love to both sides of the coin here, warms my heart, and it makes me thankful to have this in my collection. So y'all, if you are a fan of either the Witchblade or G-Force or both, this is one you want in your collection. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is you get your action figures and comics to see if you can get this in stock. If you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little G-Force bell, next subscribe. That way I can tip more content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel. And I love talking with you on hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials. Let's all make sure that the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading and happy hunting, everyone.